Hi, everybody. I'm Alan Britt.
I'm Steve Mobby.
I'm Tyler Caldwell.
And I'm Juan Martínez from Joya de Nicaragua.
That's right. And as you can probably tell, this isn't someone who's normally on these videos with us. And this episode is going to be a little bit different of the mystery review. And this is for November, right?
It is November.
Yeah, I have no idea what month it is most
It is
of the
the
time.
month of November.
Every month is turning into the same month over and over again.
Yeah, it's turkey time, man. I don't forget turkey time.
Oh, that's true.
Okay.
But yes, this video is going to be different because today's Inquisitor is also going to be on the panel with us, Mr. Juan from Joya de Nicaragua. And we are smoking something here.
We are definitely smoking something. That's the big mystery, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tasty one.
It is, yeah. I mean, that's kind of the first thing. Even when I just took it out of the cellophane, just taking the whiff of it, it was, nice, strong, pungent smell in a good way. As soon as I cut it, really good, clean, cold draw on it. Really nice constructed cigar overall, just from my first impression.
It's got that, as Alan and I like to say, that Joya funk.
Yeah, it's got the Hoya.
It's
You
very,
immediately
very
light up.
distinctive, like
know it's
scent
Joya.
and taste to it.
Yeah, there's no mystery about that part of it, at least.
And I would
You know
say
what
right
that
off the
is.
bat, the size is perfect. I mean, this is what I look for in a cigar.
I
This
stand
is,
Churchill.
Churchill, yeah. Traditional Churchill.
I like it.
Can I tell the story without telling what it is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So, since I came in to the business, I wasn't expected to be in tobacco. I wasn't expected to be in cigars.
Okay.
It was my father's project. It was my father's adventure, endeavor, And I grew up in the 1980s in Nicaragua under a revolutionary regime. So we were taught up since very early on to have a purpose in life, right? To have a mission. And we were very ambitious at that time. I studied on the Jesuits, and the mission was to save the world. So every young person of my generation wanted to save the world in some way or another, right? Here in the U.S., you guys are, entrepreneurs, tech gurus, or finance. In back there in socialist world, you tend to be more, socially oriented. We wanted to save the world. So when I came out of university, my father had acquired the company in 1992, and he was already 15 years into the business. He was not a tobacco person. He's not. We're not 5 generations family of cigar makers or tobacco growers, like some of my colleagues, who have grown under the shade of a tobacco plant and all that.
Yeah.
So
We got a few of those around here.
Yeah, you have a few of those. But what I do remember is that since I was very little, there was always a cigar around. In fact, back then there weren't humidors, so my dad used to put the boxes of cigars in the fridge in the veggie compartment.
Okay, the
That was
crisper.
It was that was the humidor.
Okay,
And,
that's interesting.
They were, Cuban cigars, because of Nicaragua was a communist country. We had a strong relationship with Cuba, and Nicaragua cigars. It was Joya de Nicaragua, the only brand back then, right? That's the initial way how I got exposed. But one of the things that I always remember about cigars since I came in is, the traditional cigar shape. There was no such thing as the band. The band didn't matter. The brand didn't matter. Cigars were cigars. People just smoked them on a regular basis as a way of life. So when I came in around 2007, I had done my thing. I was doing some consulting work, and I was getting bored working on a desk. I started helping with that, and I started liking it. I started smoking more and getting exposed, and meeting people and meeting blenders and understanding. But I never thought that I was worthy of having my cigar, the cigar that I liked, because I was smoking all of the cigars. The master blenders at the factory knew their thing.
Sure.
I wasn't gonna come to tell them anything. I was learning from them. So time went by, and we started working together. We work a lot as a team. When we develop products, when we blend, we work as teams, right? Someone knows tobacco, someone knows about rolling, someone knows about quality control. We will come together, and okay, this is the cigar this is the direction we want to go. But it's never been an individual project, and we don't want it to be an individual project because we're a company that is not necessarily depending on one person, right? One identity. It's a company that was here before us, is gonna be here after us, right?
Okay.
So as time moved on, you have these instances in where you come, everybody asks you, what's your favorite cigar?
Yep.
The typical response from a cigar maker is, what are your brands?
Yeah.
Because
Of course.
you're promoting, you're doing
Yeah,
your
you're trying to
sales
sell
work,
it, yeah, of
so
course.
every podcast, every event, what is your favorite cigar? And I would say, okay, right now my favorite cigar is, I don't know, Cabineta or Antaño Sete or the newest release, Cinco de Cinco, the one that I'm smoking the most. But I never had, and I always strive to have a smoke that was mine, where I got all of that. And I don't want to sound pretentious because this is not intended to be something, let's say a brand construction or anything. It was just something that, hey, put me that together. Let's make this. No, I don't like that. Let's work. And this is the cigar that I wanted for me. So this is the cigar. When someone asks me if you smoke something on a regular basis, not patented, not anything, this is the cigar that's produced on bulk.
Okay.
Got it.
So that's the cigar that when you come to the factory, we'll be smoking on a regular basis without a quality control or testing intention, right? But that's just the day to day.
Okay.
So this is it. So when I was asked to
Interesting.
come here, I said, this would be the perfect opportunity to throw a lot of bullshit against you guys.
Yeah, no. And I gotta say, if this is your favorite, then I think you got pretty good tastes because
Yeah.
this is a slamming
This is
cigar.
killer
right
one.
here. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about favorite is that your palate is dynamic, right? You're always changing. What you like today is not necessarily what you
Yep.
liked 5 years ago,
Yep.
or what you're gonna like in 5 years,
Or what I might like later on this evening.
or what are you gonna like. So yeah, maybe tomorrow you'll come back to what's your favorite today, but in 5 years your palate is gonna be evolving. So there's no such thing as one favorite. This is the cigar that I like at this moment, at this stage, and this is more of a medium bodied,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
we are as a brand and as a factory, we are known for a bit more intensity. Most of our cigars have that that punch to it.
Sure.
Although we have also other cigars that don't. This goes to the family of the everyday cigar that
Yeah.
I want to have access to.
Yeah, I was gonna say this seems a bit more mild than most of the Joya that I've ever smoked. So
I would also say, even so far, like this is incredibly well balanced as well.
A clean finish.
Yes,
The finish is
absolutely,
crazy clean.
absolutely. And there's this really nice, like zesty floral kind of note, like that's kind of like like tip of your tongue tingles, kind of floral zestiness to it.
So I was gonna say mostly I'm like a super strong cedar with lemon zest, and then shout out to Shane Ireland, Marza.
Marzipan.
you're just saying that because he's not here.
No,
You're trying
that's
to carry the torch.
legit. I was trying to
Like-
figure it out. This like sweet almond, sugary taste.
There's like an almond butter,
Yeah.
like creaminess to it.
Yeah.
I would even say like a touch of like semi-sweet chocolate
Yeah.
going on with it.
I think almond butter creaminess is the perfect way to say it, especially on like the retro hail. It's just so smooth and so pure. It's
Yeah.
it feels like the texture of something
Yeah.
like super creamy, like
Yeah,
almond butter,
absolutely.
but also still has that almond flavor. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said cedar.
Yeah.
That's definitely the strongest note that I'm picking up.
Yeah. It's crazy how clean this finish is, though. Like, you blow it out, do your retro hill, and then 5 seconds after that, I just have this super clean cedar finish. And
Yeah, 100%.
It took me a while to even like pick out what I was getting on the retro hail because it just felt pure.
yeah,
The balance is in theory, it's aspiration. When we make cigars, we always, when we blend, we have the 6 basic criteria. You want a good aroma, you want the proper level of strength, good flavor. Not all tobaccos have good flavors, but it's a criteria. Those are the basic, the cigar has to draw perfectly and all that. And then you go into the more complicated criteria, which is complexity is one, and balance. And those two work together. Because you want to have complexity, you want to have dynamism in the smoke, You want to have those different notes that you mentioned in one hit, but at the same time you want to keep it balanced. So the hardest part for any cigar maker, any cigar blender, or any factory is to maintain the balance and the consistency. But the balance particularly because it's very nuanced. You know, there's something that can throw you out. We love using the analogy. Our factory manager Mario is a musician, so we always talk about the smoking as a symphony, right? Where as you start the symphony, it starts mellow, starts slow, then it starts wrapping out, and then all of the instruments start adding up to the symphony, right? That's what we call the complexity, to be able to play the symphony, all of the instruments all together in harmony. But all together, right? You have the piano with the trombone and the violin and the cello and all the flute and everything works together.
But they all have to make one coherent whole. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I imagine as a cigar maker, much like as a musician, the more you increase the complexity, the harder it is to get that balance because you've got more elements going on.
Exactly.
Is that fair?
Exactly.
I mean, I would say this is a pretty good example there then because there's a lot going on here, but everything is blending together in every puff. You know, I'm getting all these flavors that we mentioned every single time I draw, whether I retrohale or not, whether I'm doing side stream or not, like everything is right there. Like perfect harmony, like you said.
And that's the challenge, you know. That's the challenge. That's to be completely fair. That's the cigar maker's responsibility. I didn't roll the cigar.
Okay.
You know, I could have told them make sure that this have this, and this.
Yeah.
But I didn't play the instruments.
Right.
You know, the instruments are being played by the unchero who put the pieces together, and he made sure that this because they could have, you know, thrown it out of balance just by putting the wrong amount of ounces of ligero or the seco or the viso or the wrapper or the binder or all of the components. So that's the challenge, to keep the balance in the while having that harmony of complexity of flavors playing around. Each tobacco has its own personality. You need to understand the tobaccos very well because everyone plays a role, but everyone has its personality, and you have to find that. And every year that personality changes.
Sure, yeah.
Because you know the crop was different and the soil was different and the sunlight was different. So it's like playing with teenagers every single year. Their humor is changing every you know. And if it's too wet or it's too dry, if it's the environment is rainy too much, you know, all of those elements, all of those variables affect the smoke. So it's very easy for us to be sitting here and you know, and analyzing a particular cigar. But for that cigar to exist, all of those components have to come into play. As in a symphony, or you know, a group of musicians play together. And I think that's the biggest unrecognized contribution to the people who actually make the cigar. Because I'm just a messenger. I'm just telling you the story. And I just said, I want this cigar. Let's work on this. I don't like this. Let's add more of that. But on the reality, the people who make the cigar are the true masters.
I mean, you're just like the composer. You're the songwriter.
In a way,
in a way,
I wouldn't call myself a composer. I call myself, you know, like I love the music. I just don't know how to put it together. I don't know.
That's fair.
I might know some notes. I know what I like. I know what people like because I listen to what people like and people, you know, would want to expect from a cigar. But I wouldn't write the masterpiece. That's our team's responsibility.
So you know, you've got all your musicians there, and you know your rollers, your blenders, your QC guys. What would you say on average is the amount of time that one of those people has been doing that job?
So when I came in, Joya de Nicaragua is the oldest cigar factory in the country. So we have people who have been with us for 56 years since its inception. When I came in, the average tenure was 32 years.
Wow, that was
15 years ago. That's 32 years, the tenure. So that means that we have people who were like 35, 40 years, and then people who were younger. Today, that number has come down because we've grown, and now a lot of younger people have come into play. But I would say that the tenure would be about between 20 to 25 years.
Wow, that's
The
still
average.
that's still a
impressive.
lot of
That
experience.
speaks
Yeah.
volumes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of expertise, a lot of experience that goes into every cigar. Then I mean,
Yeah.
that's a lot of years.
Well, the people who work with tobacco have, 40 years working tobacco, 50 years working with tobacco. The head of production was a Wanchero when the factory began, and he was 16 years old. He's now the
Okay.
head of production, right? He's
Okay.
head to everybody. The master blender has been doing this for 30 years. So there's a lot of experience that goes behind in the whole process. In the whole process, and the irony of it is that, there's so many people involved in making one cigar, more than 300 pairs of hands, and it takes between the moment the seed is planted in the field to the moment you guys smoke the cigar, 5, 6, 7 years have passed between growing the tobacco, harvesting the tobacco, curing the tobacco, fermenting and aging the tobacco at least 2.5 years. Then we age the tobaccos further at the factory after have been cured and processed. That's at least a year, on average about 2 years. Then the cigar is made, the cigar is aged for 6 months or more, and then it comes here. It's boxed, it's packaged, and it's sent to the distributor. And then all of the cigars here, were rolled during or before the pandemic. Most of them, at least, were
wow.
rolled during the
Interesting.
pandemic. Yeah.
okay, yeah, I was thinking there's definitely some age here as I was smoking it, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta say, for one,
This one is a bit younger in the sense that it's made on a regular basis, but it's not for production, so I take it from the shelf, right? I don't. This is not packed and then shipped and all that. So this comes directly from the factory.
Okay.
going back to you saying like all the experience with your rollers, your bunchers, these guys who are making the symphony, dude, this construction
Yes.
on this thing
Yeah.
is
Very
incredible.
Well, the construction for us is a given. When people say, "Oh, this is a great cigar because it's well constructed," well, it's like buying a car and it drives, right?
Right. But there's a lot of cars out there that
I
don't
know,
drive
exactly,
so well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But for us, it's a given. It's not. It doesn't make a good cigar. It has to draw. If we had a construction problem or a draw problem, then we're making something really bad, right?
Right.
So we strive. Now that doesn't mean that every single cigar is perfect. No, it's not. It's made by hand. It's an artisanal product. We're all cognizant of that. But we strive that is not that's not one of the criteria that we want to strive. But yes, every cigar needs to be able to be enjoyed. You don't need to fight the cigar. It's like, when you're listening to the symphony and you're tweaking the variables because it doesn't sound right. No, you shouldn't. You should be able to enjoy it by itself. But sometimes one of the musicians will screw up.
Sure.
Someone will go out of
Yeah,
tune.
everybody's human.
Yeah, everybody's human.
So we've been obviously smoking this a little bit as we've been talking here. What are you guys thinking? Has this stayed pretty consistent for you in terms of flavor?
It's heated up a little bit for me, as far as a little bit of spice.
I was
come into play.
just gonna say I've been getting a little bit of pepper, a little bit of maybe some baking spice in there, especially on the retro.
Yeah, especially
Definitely
on the
like
retro.
along that lines of like an authentic vanilla kind of profile to it. And I will say like for the flavors, I'm not getting so much like additional flavors, but it's like it's coming in waves. Like I'll get a big blast of this and then like a smaller blast, and
Yeah.
this is exactly what I wanted for a cigar for the morning to
Yeah.
start off the day.
Well, I mean, this
especially
is
with
already
the-
like your
the
fourth
coffee.
cigar of the day, right?
Don't tell everyone's secrets. Don't tell everyone's secrets.
Yeah. So going back to the 300 hands, one thing I've always kind of been enamored by is the fact that many people can work on a product and it can be in your hands for $10.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I've always loved about Joya is you guys' price points are phenomenal. The fact that you can get the red, the silver for $8,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
unreal.
And yeah, very good cigars for that price.
Yep, the Classico, all that. Crazy price points. And even on the higher products, the Cinco de Cadas, the Cuatro Cinco, they are worth the money.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is your portfolio is great.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Thank you. Well, it's a challenge, and we know And we hear that one of the biggest complaints, not only from us, but from everybody, is that the prices have gone up consistently over the last year. Well,
that's everybody, though.
Every price, for every company and everything out there, right? From fuel to energy. And we, even though we're not here in the U.S., we're not exempt of the impact that, the last few years had on the cost of living, on the prices of everything. Just to give you an idea, before the pandemic, a pound of raw tobacco or tobacco ready to be made cigars used to cost, filler, for example, would be somewhere between $7.50 to $8 per pound of Nicaraguan tobacco. That same tobacco today is somewhere between $11.50 to $12.50 per pound.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's in a 4-year span.
Yeah.
Generally, tobacco tends to be a bit more stable in terms of pricing, but it has been going up as a result of higher cost of production, the inputs that you have to use to grow the tobacco, the payments you have to make to people to harvest and to cultivate tobacco, cost of energy. In Nicaragua, we continue to have the highest cost of energy in history. And we're not going down. Inflation might be slowing down here, but we still remain there. So we try to manage the cost part to make sure that the cigars continue to be available, right? Because we are in the business of making cigars to be enjoyed. We are not in the business of making cigars to be collected, to be saved, or to be invested in. Of course, if you want to save them, it's fantastic. But we want to make sure that the cigars continue to have that price-quality relation that allows a regular person that come to the humidor, buy the cigar, and feel that they got what they wanted, which was a moment for them or in company to enjoy the moment, to relax, to appreciate, and to have that experience that everybody looks for, for buying a cigar.
Yeah.
We have different segments of buyers, let's call them, because not all buyers are consumers.
Sure.
Especially abroad, in the U.S. less, but abroad there's a tendency to do a lot of investing in cigars, speculations. A lot of people buy, expensive stuff and they save it, particularly Cuban origin, and they start speculating.
Sure.
And they never smoke the cigars; they just trade them.
Yeah.
And it becomes a business in itself. When you go to the UK or, to China, or they just buy loads of cigars to collect them and then make a profit out of it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic for the people who do that, but we're not in that business.
Yeah.
We're in the business of making the cigars for that humidor, for people to come out in the morning, grab their smoke, enjoy it, and then, go on with their life.
And that's what it should be about at the end of the day. I say the same thing when we're talking about like pipes, pipe tobacco, same goes for cigars. They're made to be smoked. They're meant to be enjoyed.
Absolutely.
For people to smoke them. That's that's what you have to have in mind when you're approaching this.
Yeah, no matter the price, I have never bought a pipe that I don't intend to smoke immediately.
Or a cigar.
Or a cigar, yeah.
Maybe not immediately, but to smoke.
Normally in our videos that we're doing here, we kind of try to do like a breakdown of what we think the tobaccos within this are. So do you guys have any ideas of what you think you're smoking on?
It could be Habano. I'm getting like sun-grown Habano vibes.
From where?
Ecuador.
Okay. Yeah, I was definitely going to say Habano. I'm a little less sure about Ecuador, but I don't have a counterpoint to make there right now.
Yeah.
I would say flavor-wise, I lean more towards Sumatra,
Okay.
but I would probably have to stick with you on the Habano. I'm kind of at a toss with that. Like just that creaminess of it just really gives me like Sumatra vibes.
Okay.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at that guess.
Yeah, I don't think you're completely off base there.
Yeah.
And obviously, Joya de Nicaragua, I would imagine most of this tobacco is Nicaraguan.
Yeah. So I wish I was more familiar with the regions in Nicaragua, as far as like which regions are typically producing like correct me if I'm wrong, you're much more knowledgeable than I am. Like, I think a lot of people correlate some of those spicier Nicaraguan tobaccos to Esteli. So if you would honestly like to break that down, that would probably be beneficial.
So one of the things that makes Nicaragua such a strong tobacco growing country, because we're strong in two parts, for the tobacco growing and the cigar making, which don't necessarily go hand in hand, because you have Ecuador, who is a strong tobacco grower, but they don't make cigars, at least none that we commercially know of. So, and the same goes with Mexico. Mexico has a strong tobacco grower, particularly in wrapper. They make some cigars. Some of them are decent cigars, but they're not well known for making cigars. So Nicaragua has the benefit, has a series of benefits that has made it the strong tobacco grower country that it is. One of those is its geographical diversity. So although we're a small country, only 130,000 square kilometers. I don't know how that translates into miles, but it's not a big country. It's in the middle of Central America, tropical country. It's always necessary for the proper yield, not a fundamental necessity, because you could grow tobacco in non-tropical regions, but tropicals give you, because of the exposure to sunlight, water, so on. But in Nicaragua, we have three main growing regions, which are Esteli, Jalapa, and Condega. Those are the three big ones, but we also have smaller regions like Cometepe, which is an island, and then up-and-coming regions in Jinotega. We have Pueblo Nuevo, Tilpaneca, a few other parts of the country which are becoming popular growing regions. Nicaragua is a volcanic country by origin, so we have 19 volcanoes, 7 of which are still active, so the soil in general is very rich in nutrients and minerals. And the three main growing regions have the benefit of being valleys, 3 valleys. So, growing tobacco in valleys has a particular benefit that allows you to have very fertile soil, because, the valleys, you have mountains surrounding the valley, and when it rains and all the nutrients and minerals from the mountains, they come to the bottom. So they tend to be very rich soil. And it also has the benefit of protecting tobacco from the winds, from excessive winds. So it's like an isolated region. So tobacco valleys are very good. So Esteli is a valley, Jalapa is a valley, Condega is a valley. But each one of those valleys has a particular type of soil. So even though they're relatively close together, the quality of the soil, the type of soil is very different. So in Esteli, for example, we have more of a clay soil that makes the soil more muddy when it's wet. That means that when you plant the tobacco seed in this type of soil, the plant needs to fight more. Its roots need to fight more to go deep. And as you know, the size of the roots and the width of the roots and the length of the roots is a reflection to the growth up above, right? Sure. So the stronger the roots, the stronger the plant. So we have a shorter tobacco because it's harder for it to go down, but we have a stronger plant. Right. And that strong plant translates into stronger tobacco too. Higher levels of nicotine, but also more oils and more nutrients to the leaf that allow it to have more flavors. Esteli tobaccos tend to be more earthy, sweeter, but more intense, more powerful. Not necessarily peppery, but you will have much more strength in the Esteli tobacco. So if you smell unfortunately we don't have, if you go down to the factory, we'll have the opportunity to smell and touch the tobacco, since you can see the texture differences, right. And how that translates into the flavor. Jalapa, on the other extreme, it's in the border with Honduras to the north. The soil is more sandy, so that means that the plant has an easier time to grow. So we have a lighter tobacco, but it's more floral, more aromatic, more subtle, more citrus notes and all these notes that you mentioned, while Esteli, it's a bit more nutty, more earthy, more woody to the flavor profile. And then Jalapa, it's somewhere in the middle. It's a combination of both, basically. So you have mid-level tobaccos there. let's say, somewhere in the midpoint in terms of intensity and flavor than the other two regions. So if you want to go strong tobaccos, strong cigars, you would go Esteli. If you want more floral, more subtle, more balanced tobaccos, you would go to Jalapa, for example.
Okay.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, I didn't expect to learn so much in one of these videos today.
Yeah, I'm glad I
Yeah.
drank my coffee this morning.
So then, what do you think now that we've had that breakdown? What do you think we got in here?
I definitely think it goes more towards the Jalapa region
Yeah.
over like
Absolutely.
Esteli.
Especially like the floral notes,
Yeah.
the creaminess, that sort of thing, and also there's just the more mild flavor, more mild kick. That's what I'm thinking. You did mention woodiness for Esteli. There is some cedar in there for sure.
Yes, yeah.
And I am picking up more of the spice as this kind of goes along. So maybe a little bit of a blend in
Yeah.
there.
Maybe a little bit there.
Yeah.
It's not all Nicaraguan, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
So yeah, throw another
please.
kink in there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. So what else are we thinking?
Oh, man. I think I'm at a loss.
I think I know it's good. That's about the only guess that I have.
No, it is great one.
Yeah.
I'll throw one guess.
Okay. What you got?
Indonesian Sumatra binder.
Oh, man.
Bold guess.
Bold.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's mold.
What you want to give an explanation there for what you're thinking?
Well, like I said earlier, that Sumatra style flavor profile. And, there is a lot of cigar manufacturers that also use the Indonesian leaf for binder.
Sure.
So, I don't know, just a guess.
Okay. Okay.
I might be wrong.
Probably.
Could be
I mean, we usually are.
Probably.
So yeah, nothing new there. Nothing new
Statistically.
there.
Well, I think at this point, we need to find out what this is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
I think it's that time.
I agree.
All right.
So tell me, why do you sell this a Havana in the wrapper?
I don't know. And it's got these baking spice notes that I typically, at least in my mind, connect with Havana wrapper. And I'm probably wrong with that.
No, actually, you were right. It's a Havana
right on.
from Ecuador, but
Let's
it's
go.
a medium priming. It's a Colorado, more Colorado than dark, so it's more of a Viso wrapper. But yes, it's from Ecuador. I personally enjoy the Ecuadorian Havana because the Havana is the seed, right?
Right.
And then you can have the same seed planted in different regions with a completely different tobacco. You have this seed planted in Nicaragua, the same Havana seed, and it will taste different than what it would taste from Ecuador. The same basic notes, but you can have certain differences, like in wines when you plant a Cabernet Sauvignon in California tastes different from the one in Chile, but the same core principles apply. So yes, it's a Havana from Ecuador. So you were right. on that.
All right.
Let's go.
Yeah,
I'll
got
take
one
that
good,
as a
right? Yeah,
win.
yeah. Partial credit at least right there.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the rest of the blend?
Okay, the binder is actually Indonesian.
All right. 2 for 2.
Now, the reason why we use Indonesian is because not necessarily because of its flavor, because its neutrality. It allows us to. You always fight between the 5 components, right? You have the secos, visos, ligeros, which are the fillers, and then you have the binder. That's sort of like we call it the underwear that keeps all those components together, and then you have the wrapper that comes. All of them play an important role. Each one has their space. Each has their function, their functionality, from the flavors to the combustion to the strength level, so on. So we're not using any strong tobaccos in this one. Generally, we would use a thicker wrapper if we want something stronger. Not necessarily, but generally. In this case, we're using the Colorado because we want to keep that balance and that midpoint of sort of mid to low strength level that we want. And then the fillers are from, 2 of the fillers are from Nicaragua, and 1 is from another place, which you're still missing.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay. So what about before we try to get the third one, what about the regions of Nicaragua? What were you said there was 2 fillers from Nicaragua.
Jalapa and Condega.
Okay.
We're not
Okay.
using Esteli in this
No
one.
Esteli. Okay.
And the reason why we're not using Esteli is because we use Esteli in all of our blends, and that's what you come to expect from us. So when you talk about that Joya de Nicaragua personality, it's that particular. When you smoke an antaño, for example, all of the antaños, there are 4 variations of antaño, and I talk about antaño because it's the easiest blend to talk about when you talk about Esteli. It was the first cigar to ever use 100% tobaccos from Nicaragua, in the new age that we call it. It came in 2000, and back then Nicaraguan tobacco was not known as it is today. It was up and coming. Still, people did not believe it to be, it used to be blended, but not pure Nicaraguan cigar, puro. We didn't have it back then. So Antaño came as a 100% Nicaraguan Havana seed wrapper grown in Esteli, binder from Nicaragua. And then the fillers come from the same farm that we grew since 2000.
Okay.
Exactly from the same farm in Esteli. So all of the Antaños from the original 1970 to the Gran Reserva, to the Dark Rojo, and to the CT, you use the same fillers from the same Esteli land. So when you smoke an Antaño, you know where that tobacco comes from, Esteli.
Nice.
And from that particular part of Esteli, you identify it at first. So most of our blends, so most U.S. smokers, when they smoke a Joya de Nicaragua, they identify that. This is the Joya de Nicaragua profile.
Yeah.
So I wanted to move away from that precisely because we always use it. So we're not using any Esteli in this case. We're using Condega and Jalapa, and then another one.
Okay.
So, do you think it's something kind of off the wall, like Panamanian or something like that?
My initial thought is Dominican.
It could be DR. There's like a
get on
floral
board with
sense,
DR.
but I don't know how much of that floral is coming from the Nicaraguan.
True.
Yep.
And you got it there. You did.
All
Nice,
right.
good job, Dave.
All right.
You know
So we're normally not this good.
We were very lucky this go
Yeah.
around.
No, but it is it's a Dominican. We call it Caribbean because we like the Caribbean profile. The Caribbean gives you the climate and the geography of the islands give you, the particular profile that goes Cuba, Jamaica, and the DR. We obviously don't have access to Cuban tobacco. Jamaican tobacco is not very, let's say, good for my taste. So we go with the Dominicans that we know they grow great tobacco too.
Have you tried any of the Haitian tobacco recently?
Well, I have
good.
not,
Yeah.
but it should be very similar to the Dominican because they have the same geography. So I
very
would
much.
imagine that they would probably grow tobacco there because the island has a limited geographical space, so they would probably grow tobacco there. So, but no, I have not tried any.
We tried one recently, and it was
blew me away.
Yeah,
It blew me away.
blew my mind.
Which one was that?
What was it called?
Behikio?
Behikio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very new and upcoming brand.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
now we know all the components.
We were actually
right for
Very
once.
accurate.
That's
You
cool.
were-
You were,
Yeah.
you were right.
I'll take it as a win.
So
I'll take it as a
can
win.
you tell us what the cigar is for the folks at home, the millions around the world?
Well, this is a cigar that is, again, my personal preference, my personal expression of what the cigar that I would personally gravitate towards, and the cigar that when someone asks me, give me the cigar that you enjoy the most, this is the cigar.
This is the one.
So right now, it's not in regular production. It's the cigar that I'm giving out, giving people to enjoy, the one that's smoking, but hopefully it's gonna be a cigar that, if you guys like it, if you guys approve it, it might make its way to...
I will say right now, when it's ready, give me a call.
Yeah.
I'm ordering
Yeah.
boxes.
Well,
This
actually,
is going to be a really
it's
good cigar.
it's a very close brother to the Clásico Medio Siglo, which is a blend that we released recently for Club de Amigos. I think you guys have access to that. If not yet, it's soon gonna be here.
Oh, let's see
It's
it.
very, very close to that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Okay, yeah. I'll have to check that one out then, because if it's like this, it's going to be really solid.
It is. It's going to be on.
It's a bit
list.
different, but very close.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we nominated it for our top 25 at the end of the year.
It will be on our top
which
20 cigars.
I'm looking
list of the
forward
year.
to getting
So
to
you
that one on
will
the
and
list.
have to smoke it.
I'm required
It's a
to
job
smoke that one.
requirement.
Well,
I
listen,
can't complain about that too much, though.
Juan, I appreciate you so much coming on the panel with us today.
it's a great pleasure.
Being
Yeah.
the live inquisitor for once. This has been really fun.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing your favorite
You,
cigar
well, I
with
have to
us.
say, you guys know your thing, man. You got.
We're really good at fooling people.
Yeah. Fake it. So you
Usually
make
Make it till you
ourselves.
make it, yeah.
Well, eventually you start making it. Right?
That's what they tell me. I haven't figured that part out.
Maybe
yet,
one
but,
day.
Yeah, I keep faking it.
So tell. I don't know if it's part of the script or anything, but what do you guys normally enjoy? If this is my personal blend, if you were to do something yourselves, what would be the type of cigars you would
So
aspire to?
just from you guys' portfolio,
No, for your personal taste.
I don't know. I kind of like all over the place. Like I like more fuller bodied. I gravitate between very mild and very strong.
Yeah. The entire spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a cigar, I smoke it.
Yeah. I don't smoke a lot of dead medium stuff.
You like the polar
I
extremes.
like polar extremes. If I want a mild cigar, I want a very mild cigar. And then, like with your portfolio, I go to the Cuatro Cinco. The Cuatro Cinco in the little petite Corona.
yeah,
that's
that's a really-
my absolute favorite.
really
from
good
Hoya.
cigar.
Thanks.
Really good.
Yeah.
I tend to go more towards like the heavier stuff. I like a little bit more of a kick, especially the actual like nicotine. I would say though, recently the thing that I've been smoking the most is the smoking pipe exclusive from Dapper.
Yeah.
That I've really been kind of going hard on that one. It's kind of right up my alley. Like you said, tastes change, but for me right now, for the last few months, that's kind of been where I've been locked in at for a favorite.
Nice.
For me, I think the older that I get, the more my taste is in a transitional phase. And I would say for the past year, I really gravitate towards like mild to medium Connecticut. I want that like smooth, like creamy, sweeter kind of profile.
Nice.
No.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you see that also applying to your consumers, to your regular, to the people who come to the shop and enjoy cigars?
I mean, customers either in the store or on our online business, it's all over the place. I mean, they're like Alan, like they
They
smoke
can
all
smoke a little bit of
extreme.
everything. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have their like one blend. I'll only smoke this one cigar, and that's it. Or I'll only smoke this one brand, or whatever it is. Everybody's got their own preferences, but yeah, people are all over the place.
Yeah. I think as a general rule of thumb, like Connecticut's do outsell
Yeah.
anything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. I don't know if it's like newer smokers getting into it or what, but yeah, I'd say Connecticut sell better than anything else.
Yeah. Sweet.
Yep.
Yeah. And we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Juan.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you
pleasure.
sharing your
Thank you for
favorite
having
cigar
me.
with us. Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor.
And everyone watching, make sure you check for Joya de Nicaragua cigars on Smoking Pipes.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next month.